Hello EFD squad and welcome back to One on One, the show where we two-foot the facts and lay waste to football fiction. Now, as you well know, I'm a glass half full sort of guy. I like to champion plucky underdogs and miraculous transformations. However, today, for your viewing pleasure, we have a decidedly darker narrative on our hands. A cautionary tale of what happens when you prefer the limelight to the floodlights. Yes, you guessed it. This week we're going to recount how Mauro Icardi went from hero to zero at Italian giants Inter Milan. Prior to the age of 26, the Argentinian CV was mightily impressive. He was captain at 22, twice winner of the Capocannoniere, which is Italy's award for top goal scorer, twice selected for Team of the Year, once the league's outright Player of the Year, as well as being the club's second highest scoring overseas player of all time. Now, almost 1 year on from his San Siro departure, Icardi's plying his trade for PSG, the home for broken egos, where he ranked 9th in the squad for minutes played in 1920. And while he's being paid handsomely to do so, rubbing shoulders with some of football's megastars in the process, you can't help but feel like it's come at the cost of a lasting legacy on the pitch. So, how did the Argentinian hitman go from potential Nerazzurri legend to the 4th most important attacker at the Parc des Princes? Brace yourself for a sporting soap opera for the ages. Part 1. The Rise of Mauro Icardi. Icardi was born in Rosario, Argentina, before moving to the Canary Islands at the age of 9. Such was his eye for goal at local team Vecindario that he had offers from 9 major clubs by the tender age of 13. In 2007, Barcelona prevailed in a heated tug-of-war with Real Madrid, apparently making Icardi the best paid 14-year-old in Spain in the process. However, what's interesting to observe is that money and prestige didn't go to Mauro's head, as you'd now assume. After completing his football education at La Masia, Icardi opted to join Italian outfit Sampdoria on loan in 2011, instead of accepting life on the periphery of the Blaugrana first team. Now, at the time, he was held in high regard by Barcelona, at least according to former under-17 coach Sergi Barjuan. However, his agent rationalised that his chances of graduating to the first team as a traditional number 9 would be increasingly limited. Given the trajectory of some of his La Masia contemporaries, it proved an inspired decision. After prospering for Samp's reserve side in the Primavera, the club took up the option to secure his services on a permanent transfer for just €400,000. And by January 2013, the young Argentinian had announced himself to the wider football world by scoring a brace in a surprise 2-1 away win at Juventus. So, on the pitch, things are progressing nicely. However, off of it, they're about to become much more complicated. In late 2013, not long after he completed his move to Inter, Icardi officially started dating glamour model Wanda Nara, who was going through divorce proceedings with former Sampdoria teammate Maxi Lopez. At the time, Nara was best known as the sister of famous TV and model Zaira Nara. Now, she's one of the most powerful women in football, albeit much maligned. Unsurprisingly, some media outlets reported a betrayal of epic proportions, suggesting that Lopez and Icardi were close friends and that the former was a mentor to the younger Icardi. For the record, Mauro would later go on to rubbish these claims, saying they were colleagues in Sampdoria and nothing else. Lopez still insists that the pair's relationship was the primary reason behind his divorce from Nara, something she's since rebuked, claiming that her relationship with Lopez had broken down long before she met Mauro because of her ex-husband's alleged infidelities. An Argentinian court sided with her, giving her custody of the pair's 3 sons. Now, despite this media furore, the pair continued to invite publicity, tweeting each other about their sex life, for example, with the not-so-cryptic hashtag Quincedia, which apparently referenced an absolute mammoth session across the space of 24 hours. And I mean mammoth. Not sure how that's physically possible, to be frank. Now, it's headlines like this that have given birth to the term the Ikardashians. And of course, the press absolutely lapped up the Nara-Icardi-Lopez dynamic from there on in, and it continued to dominate headlines. During an April 2014 match between Inter and Sampdoria, for example, 1 month before Icardi and Nara were due to tie the knot, Lopez refused to shake Icardi's hand in the pre-match ritual. The press were absolutely delighted, christening the tie thereon in the Wonder Derby. The pair then remained on the back pages after tying the knot in Buenos Aires just 6 months into their relationship. And I'd just like to say, for the record, I have no problem with whirlwind romances. I've tried to say that 3 times now. But getting married in jeans, Mauro, is completely unacceptable. Okay? The newlywed couple then formed a habit of tweeting several family photos, which I suppose in isolation isn't controversial. Then Icardi goes and gets Rodriguez's children tattooed on his arm. And it's safe to say Maxi wasn't best pleased. And I think we'll leave that there for the time being, because that's enough drama. Back to the football then, because all of this does coincide with his first season at Inter. In 2013-14, he was recruited by a Nerazzurri side who'd finished ninth the season prior, behind the likes of Catania, who now play in Serie C. In fact, look at Catania's badge. I don't want to dig them out, but that is a clip art job, if ever I've seen one. However, the club's struggles apparently didn't put off a young, energised Icardi, who stated upon signing for the Nerazzurri, "I only wanted Inter," which was just as well, as they desperately needed his services. And he enjoyed a fruitful first season, contributing to a goal every 119 minutes, second in the squad only to fellow countryman Rodrigo Palacio. And the season after, he more than doubled his goal contributions, scoring 22 and assisting 6 in 33 starts, captaining the side from there on in. Even after Suning Commerce bought the club in 2016, a move that was supposed to stabilise the flailing Italian giants, it was Icardi's goals that kept Inter going. In 16-17, he bagged 24 league goals despite the club going through 3 different managers. He was their one constant. In the 17-18 season, he reached his Inter zenith, scoring a hat-trick against rivals AC Milan in the Derby della Madonnina, and was hoisted in front of a raucous crowd by his teammates, parading his shirt in the process. That same season, when there was rumours of Real Madrid coming in, he assured fans that if Florentino Perez made the call, he wouldn't pick up. So, how did this all come apart so quickly, I hear you cry? Which is a damn good question. Now, despite this fine form, the seeds of discontent were actually sown pretty early in the Inter striker's career, on an unlikely away night at Sassuolo in 2015 in fact. It was an event that would explode into life 20 months later with the ill-fated release of his autobiography, which would become a permanent blot on his Inter status no matter how many goals he scored. Part 2, the Fall of Mauro Icardi. After losing an away tie 3-1 to Sassuolo in a bitterly disappointing campaign where Inter would eventually finish 8th, Icardi went over to the travelling fans at the Mapai Stadium, allegedly to give a young fan his shirt. However, it was then thrown back at him by the ultras, such was their disgust with the team's performance that day. This was a slight that got under Icardi's skin and festered. So much so that he dedicated a section to it in his aforementioned autobiography, Forever Forward. Now, to release an autobiography aged 23 is ill-advised at best and egotistical and delusional at worst, but it also begs the question, where were Inter when this was happening? Why didn't they know about the chapter at hand? I think it also gives a little bit of insight into how unorganised they were as a club during this period. Now in it, Icardi recounts the showdown at the Mapai, where he said he wanted to punch the bastard and piece of shit. This was, of course, the fan that threw his shirt back at him, telling the fans they should all be ashamed of their conduct. Things then take a very, very toe-curling David Brent turn when he states the following. In the changing room, I was applauded like an idol. The bravado continues at a relentless pace. I'm ready to face them one by one. Maybe they don't know that I grew up in one of the South American neighbourhoods with the highest rates of crime and people killed in the street. Okay, well, at least he didn't personally threaten to engineer anyone's death there, right? Wrong. That's exactly what he did. What's Italian for he absolutely did say that? How many of them are there? 50? 100? 200? Okay, record my message and let them hear it. I will bring 100 criminals from Argentina who will kill them on the spot. Safe to say that the backlash from the ultras was swift. The Curva Nord categorically denied this version of events at the Mapai Stadium, calling them lies, 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 as well as Icardi a clown. Then the death knell. Icardi starts backtracking on Instagram, declaring himself surprised and sorry. He also admitted that he spat out some exaggerated phrases prior to a match against Cagliari. However, upon his return, the Curva Nord were absolutely brutal, hanging out a banner that read, "Icardi, you're the bastard, making up to sell more copies. You heinous mercenary." Impressed with the vocab there, if anything. Heinous is a great word. Then, when Icardi missed a penalty in that aforementioned tie with Cagliari, that section of the fans cheered. His relationship with the Inter Ultras would never be the same. Now, somewhat to the Argentinian's credit, he actually upped his game on the pitch. For every controversy, a barrel load of goals. Under Luciano Spalletti in 17-18, he reached a different gear, recording a career-high 29 goals in a single league campaign. At this point, his relationship with the fans may have been fractious, but the club's board still backed their star asset. However, the relentless games played off the pitch soon meant that he had no backers whatsoever, and the straw that broke the camel's back was a TV interview conducted by Wanda Nara in early 2019. Now, just to give you a greater understanding of just how often Team Icardi were at loggerheads with Inter in the press, let's track his contract situation from 2016 onwards. In February of that year, with Manchester United and Napoli apparently sniffing around, Icardi secured a new contract extension until 2021, inserting a buyout clause of 110 million euros. This put to rest several months of speculation, where Wanda Nara allegedly met representatives from Atletico Madrid amongst other top sides, which of course she made public knowledge. Over a year went by, in which time Icardi broke the 100 mark in Serie A for goals scored, becoming the 6th youngest ever player to achieve that feat. As a result, manager Luciano Spalletti was gushing in his praises, publicly stating that he is a special kind of person and football player, a great guy and a great professional. So here we have the manager leading a resurgent side in perfect synchronicity with his captain and top goal scorer, who has a number of years left on a fairly new deal at this point. So why was this Icardi's last great season at Inter Milan? However, this harmony didn't last long, and by December of that same year, Wanda appeared to be inviting bids from Real Madrid, telling television program Verissimo, "I don't know anything about Real Madrid, but I won't say yes or no." Marca would later claim that it was because of Wanda Nara's antics that Real Madrid didn't put in a bid. Despite being back in the headlines for the wrong reasons yet again, Mauro Icardi's heroics on the pitch had reached fever pitch by the end of 17-18, with the then captain scoring the equaliser against Lazio on the last day of the season to help the club secure UCL football for the first time since 2012. However, this would be his last full campaign wearing the armband. In February 2019, amidst more contract disputes, Wanda Nara made the fatal error of calling the club out live on television. She criticised Inter's management and players on TV programme Tiki Taka, stating that "I'd like to see Mauro more protected by the club, because sometimes nasty things have come out from the inside." So now her chat had graduated from transfers to contracts to the inner workings of the club. Inter, apparently fed up at these constant jibes, announced that Icardi would be replaced as captain soon after, with CEO Beppe Marotta saying that sometimes parents have to make tough decisions for the children to grow. And it was quite clear who he meant in this equation. In response, Icardi refused to play a Europa League tie against Rapid Vienna, and Wanda cried on television. Unfortunately, the situation became increasingly unsavoury, with Wanda Nara having rocks thrown at her car in a match against Sampdoria when her children were present. It's perhaps little wonder then that the pair's siege mentality continued despite the criticism of those around them. Typically, when Icardi returned to the club 53 days later, he scored and assisted. However, by then, his fate had been decided. On the 8th of August 2019, the club signed Romelu Lukaku in a big money transfer from Manchester United. The following day, he was given the number 9 shirt that had been worn by Mauro Icardi since his arrival in 2013. Effectively, this was the club drawing a line in the sand. His off-the-pitch antics had finally outweighed his gluttony of goals. The Argentinian's time was up, despite having so much more to give. Part 3, present day. In September 2019, Icardi joined French club PSG on loan with the option to buy for €70 million. The Parisians made it permanent in May 2020, with Icardi signing a contract until 2024. Once the talisman of his side, he now sits behind Neymar, Mbappe, and even Angel Di Maria in the club's attacking pecking order. Although his form has been formidable in Paris, displacing club legend Edison Cavani in the process with a goal or assist every 75 minutes across all competitions, PSG's Galactico project hangs in the balance, with Neymar pushing for a move back to Barcelona and Mbappe increasingly vocal about his options. Who knows, should PSG win the UCL this year, then maybe he, Wanda Nara, and every other player accused of being in it for the money will find some sort of redemption in Paris. Or if his high-profile teammates move on, that would make him the main man once more, a situation that he and Nara have clamoured for their entire careers. Let's hope if that does happen, that Team Icardi see it as an opportunity for reparations rather than renegotiations. That, my friends, is one-on-one for the week. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. What would you like to see me cover in future weeks? Let me know on Instagram, Twitter, drop into the FD Discord. I'm done here. It's raining. It's raining on Mauro Icardi at the moment. Let's hope he can turn it around. Stay safe. Peace out. Bye.